Things I wish I knew. Welcome to today's episode. How do we scale culture in fast growing organizations? Culture is a set of shared beliefs and behaviors that determine how business is done in the organization. The culture is that unpublished informal employee handbook and the organizational chart showing who really has power. Often, this doesn't resemble the published versions we very much see. In most cases, employees who are either discerning enough to learn the culture or fortunate enough to have someone explain the deal to them succeed. Conversely, employees who don't learn culture typically run into glass walls and find themselves in the glass chute that empties into the job search market. Each of the companies have a unique culture. Jim Collins, in his book Built to Last, said organizations with strong cultures deliver superior performance compared to the average and have sustainable results in the long run. So, culture and underlying beliefs and values that shape an organization, can it be scaled when you go from 10 employees to 1,000? Two McKinsey consultants, Terry Deal and Arthur Kennedy, wrote a book called Corporate Cultures, the Rites and the Rituals of Corporate Life, and said there are four ingredients to corporate culture. The first one is, what are the values and beliefs of the organization? You need to set a philosophy for everything a company does. What does it stand for? What are the stories and myths? What are the founder stories? What are the stories of employees? And what are some key challenges and narratives which they have delivered? It could be the biggest sale. It could be a complex problem. It could be a customer situation. Once you know what the stories and myths are, how do you know who the heroes are in your organization? What are the right rewards and right celebration you need to have to be successful? And finally, what is the rituals the company creates in order for you to celebrate success? Frank D'Souza, in his interview with the New York Times, talks about his time at Cognizant. In 1994, when Cognizant was started, everybody knew each other personally. As the organization scaled, there were several personal and rapid transitions over that time. When you decentralize and empower, you must make sure you don't wind up with multiple microcultures, and every manager puts his or her own stamp on the culture. Culture doesn't get passed on by just writing it down, but through rituals you have in the organization, the legends you refer to, and the heroes of the organization. So in Cognizant, they institutionalized a set of things to create rituals, heroes, and legends. For example, there was a tradition of naming of the associate of the year. The process was for every region to identify a single associate who contributes well above and beyond what they do and who has exhibited the traits of the culture that the organization thought was important. We similarly institutionalized a ritual we call Project of the Year. And we celebrated this by bringing employees and their families into huge stadiums to celebrate the success. There were also several customer stories which were created where employee teams worked above and beyond the call of duty to make sure that the customer success was made, showcasing customer-centric part of Cognizant. Each story or theme on how the teams went about solving a problem became part of the folklore. Similarly, the promotion process was used to make sure that people who exhibited the ideal cultural values were promoted. So, as you start to build an organization, you need to make sure that you're creating the right rituals, legends, and stories. There are also several set of rites or rituals which you need to make sure that you handle as you scale and expand. The first is the rites of passage. Whenever you have changing environment or somebody transitioning into a new role, you need to make sure that you have an appropriate formality around it to ensure that the rite of passage happens where you're actually making sure that the cultural values get disseminated. Second, organizations grow and thrive by exchanging information. Are you creating the right knowledge sharing infrastructure? Are you creating an environment for shared learning? Are you making sure that you're having coaching and mentoring as critical parts of your values is very important so that you can make sure that you're exchanging and transmitting the right cultural values from one generation to the other. The next is the rites of celebration. As goals get achieved, you want to make sure that you're celebrating them, as well as making sure that certain specific behaviors you desire when demonstrated are rewarded, or any of the values you really cherish are demonstrated or done, you want to make sure that you're celebrating that. Finally, there's the rights of spaces. As organizations get created, it is very important to see how physical and virtual spaces are configured to facilitate this sharing, interaction, and learning. As I reflect on my own experience, I believe that when I get into any role, I bring the team together to decide on a set of common vision, mission, and values for the team. The values and beliefs are a core part of how I can make sure that I'm setting the stage on what are the right behaviors we need to demonstrate. Then we go about capturing stories of the past which created good success, but also infrastructure for creating stories of the future. One way I have done it is to create an employee podcast where I had employees talk about their successes in an interview with me. This way, we were able to create organizational stories of what employees did during challenging times. We had several events to recognize people, whether it was ringing the bell for any sales success, monthly and quarterly recognition in town halls, or spot appreciation. Finally, we created consistent and systemic rituals, annual team rewards for both individual and team efforts, the promotion process which embodied and brought the best of cultural values which the team or individual demonstrated before they got promoted. More importantly, we started to do meetings where we were grateful and appreciative of each other's efforts. Bringing gratefulness and appreciation really helped build the right tone and structure for the organization. For this, I referenced the two books, one by Terence Steele and Alan Kennedy on corporate culture, and Jim Collins' book, Built to Last. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed the episode.